Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear the remaining testimony of Suh Thi, and after that, we will hear testimony of another witness, that is through TCW 916. Ms. Jie Siu Huang, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Graf Yi. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nuji is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the Graf Yi. The witness who is to conclude his testimony today, that is Mr. Suh Thi as well as Mr. Mom Ratir, his duty counsel, are present in the courtroom. The upcoming witness through TCW 916 has confirmed that through his best knowledge, he has no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, that is Nunji and Kieu Som Horn, or through any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness will take an oath according to his religion before the chamber. President. Thank you, Ms. Jie Siu Huang. The chamber now decides on request by Nuon Chea. The chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea dated 7 June 2016, which states that due to his health, headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present at the 7 June 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nuon Chea by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 7 June 2016, which states that Nuon Chea has back pain and it becomes severe when he sits for long and feels dizzy, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via and audio-visual means. The chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow. That applies for the whole day. And I'd like now to hand the floor again to the defense teams to put further questions to witness Suh Thi. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Your Honors, good morning, counsel, and good morning, Mr. Witness. I have not many remaining questions left for you. There's a few subjects, though, that I would like to revisit with you. Yesterday, I confronted you with the testimony of the chief of the photography unit, Sring, and I told you he had said that prisoners who were sent to Presar were photographed on the premises in the office that you yourself also worked at. Yesterday you said, and I quote from the draft transcript at 15:25 in the afternoon, you said, "I did not know the details regarding the process of being photographed. It was possible that those people were photographed at the outer section before they were sent to the rice field. And to my understanding, those who were sent inside and the photographs were taken, they were never sent to the rice field." having read this out to you, can you one more time tell me what your recollection is as to people that were sent to S24 or Presar or the rice fields?
For prisoners who were sent to S24, I did not know the details since that involved with people who worked at the outer part.
If you're saying you do not know the details, does that mean that it could have happened that people who were brought into the reception area situated at the outer premises of S21 were subsequently sent to Presar?
Counsel, convince me that this is not asking for speculation of a witness that says, I don't know the details.
Well, that is the question. That's what he says now. Let me read to you, before I come back to that particular excerpt, what he said himself in relation to prisoners sent to Presar. I'm referring to document E3/9320. It's his interview with DC Cam. More specifically, I'll be referring to English page ERN 00337985, Khmer 000520031, French 0028029. Let me read the whole excerpt so that it gets clear what is being asked by the DC Chem investigator. The investigator says, you mentioned earlier that none of the prisoners were released, but were prisoners transferred to other prisons? Answer of Susti, no case of release. Question, did you mention that prisoners had been transferred from Tulsleng to Presar? Answer, no. If they had intended to send them back to Presar, they would have done so. If they had brought in there, they would have been blindfolded. It was another type of case. Some of them were brought to Presar. Their respective units would send the prisoners there themselves. Then the question of the DC Chem investigator, I've met those who had been imprisoned at Presar. They told me that before they were brought to Presar, they had been blindfolded, and later on they were brought to Tulsleng. After 3 days of interrogation, they were blindfolded again and transferred back to Presar. Did you know or hear of such case? No, I don't. Maybe that was what happened initially and prisoners were not executed. And then it continues. So, Mr. Witness, although you say you do not know the details, here you seem to suggest that you know something about how prisoners ended up in Presar. Is that correct, or is that not correct?
Regarding the interview with the DC Chem staff, it happened a long time ago, so I cannot recall the content of that interview. However, I would like to clarify the following point. I worked at the inner premises of the compound, and prisoners who were brought to the inner compound were never taken outside again. As for those prisoners who were with the special force at the outer premises, I did not know what happened to them or whether they were sent elsewhere, and I could only speak about the prisoners who were brought to the inner part of the compound.
Without inviting you to speculate, of course, Mr. Witness, let me at least read to you what Him Hui told the Chamber in his testimony on the 5th of May 2016 at around 10:43 and 10:45. He talks about people arriving at the reception area of S21, and then just before 10:45 he says, Tahor assigned me and my men to do the job, sending those people to Presar, and there was a group of prisoners who would be sent into Tulslang. End of quote. Can you give a reaction to what Him Hui told the trial chamber?
As I have stated, prisoners, when they were first brought in, they would be put at the outer premises with the special force, and I did not know what happened to them next if they were not to be sent to the inner premises of the compound, and for those who were sent to the inner premises of the compound were never sent back out again. And here I refer to the inside premise of the prison compound.
Let me sidestep for a bit and then come back to the subject. Do you know what the principle of secrecy was? And if you do, was that principle enforced at S21?
Louis.
As I repeatedly said, I did not pay attention to other people's works. I focus primarily on my task so that I could fulfill those tasks without making any mistake.
Let me read to you an excerpt from a document which relates to the interview with you in August 2003 by DC Chem people, E3/7637, Khmer ERN 00229033, French 003444703, and English 001858878. I will read it to you. These are remarks not coming directly from your mouth, but are based upon what you told the investigators. And it says the following. The incoming prisoners came in from all over the country, according to procedures, the details of which T did not know. Prisoners were sent out with the defense unit on the basis of signed forms that Ho got from Duik. T also did not hold the lists of prisoners who were in detention, that being another department. comes a difficult word. This reflected the severe compartmentalization of the work, with those in the defense and interrogation units having no contact with each other, not even eating together. T's section had no right to go near the prisoners, about whom it was supposed to know nothing. End of quote. What is being described here in relation to the principle of secrecy at S21, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Following up this description of the principle of secrecy, you yourself gave testimony before this chamber in the case against Duig on the 28th of July 2009. That's document E3/7466 at 10:48, and I quote, you said, regarding the lists of prisoners at S21, they were not collected and compiled by me. Only Meng, who was in charge of overall lists of S21, was in full control of the list of detainees from S24 too. End of quote. Is that what you said? Was it indeed Meng who knew about lists of detainees from S24 or Presar?
I can say that Meng was in charge of a overall list of the three offices, so that he was also in charge of the list for Brazil.
Now, yesterday, Mr. Witness, I showed you a list of release of 100 prisoners from Division 920. That was document E3/8648. I also showed you two biographies of...
Council, please repeat the numbers again and do it slower this time. And as I said, if possible, please repeat it.
Oh, I didn't actually mention the ERNs, just the document number, but I will do that again, Mr. President. I will repeat my question. Mr. Witness, yesterday I showed you a list of release of 100 prisoners from Division 920. That was document E3/8648. I also showed you two biographies with annotations saying sent to the rice fields. You looked a bit confused when seeing these documents. You seem to say that release was simply not possible at S21. My question to you is the following. Isn't it true that you actually had very limited knowledge of what was going on at S21, and that your earlier testimony that no one was ever released from S21 is simply false?
Witness, please hold on. And International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Je m'oppose à la façon dont...
I object to the manner in which the last question was asked, because the defense is trying to say that people were effectively released on the basis of the document, the interpretation given to the word released is not as clear as that. And let me point out that we've already made remarks on document E3/967 at another hearing. As for the document regarding 100 persons from Division 920, with the reference E3/8638, it has already been said that some persons who were released, who are believed to have been released, ended up in S21 and were executed, and there are 45 on the OCIJ list. So to say that these persons were simply released is false. This question should be reformulated. At best, those persons were sent to S21. Regarding the 45 persons who were found, they were from S21D. So the interpretation given to the word released is such that we should be very cautious, and I would ask the defense to be very cautious. These persons were not released, so we should understand the word released in parentheses.
Mr. President, I find this an incredible objection. First of all, prosecution is arguing. All of a sudden, when we come up with a document, it is ready, or it should be interpreted in all kinds of ways. I have in front of me that particular document. As a matter of fact, DC Chem and the defense agree that it says names of people released on 26 November 1977, 100 combatants from Division 920. DC Chem made a booklet out of it, published it. So now saying that these people were not released is uncalled for. So again, I think I am entitled to ask the question, which bottom line is that he simply doesn't know many things.
If you claim he doesn't know things, how would he know what he doesn't know? I mean, I think we got your point.
That I'm very happy about, Judge Fens, but that still remains the question unanswered. So let me repeat it.
Defense counsel, you can ask all kinds of questions to the witness. However, you cannot answer a question that seeks to draw a conclusion on your statement.
I understand, but I think I'm entitled to say, Mr. Witness, isn't it true that you didn't know anything? What was going on at S21, only in a very limited sense. That question is the end result of many, many questions of yesterday, and I think that the ultimate question is something that I should be able to ask.
Witness, you do not need to respond to that question. That question is not permissible, as you are not in a position to make your conclusion on the statement by the defense counsel, and that is the duty of the bench. And I believe the witness has responded sufficiently to your questions in relation to his involvement in the drawing up of the list.
It's good to know that the witness is allowed to speculate on this document that he doesn't know, but when I ask a question, then of course that is not allowed. But let me move on, Mr. President. And let me turn to the issue of hierarchy and the issue of who was responsible for ordering executions at S21. Let me read to you what Duik said when he heard your testimony on the 28th of July 2009, that is document E3/7466 at 1539, Duik said about you, about your testimony, I appreciate his testimony that he is in his role as a middle cadre within S21, although he did not work and contact me directly, as I also did not want any middle cadres to have any direct contact with me. End of quote. Is that correct, Mr. Witness, what Duik said, that you had no contact with him and that he also didn't allow you to have any contact with him?
Yes, that is correct.
Yesterday you testified that Hoare was your superior, that you only had direct contact with him. Isn't it true that you had no knowledge whatsoever about who was responsible for ordering executions?
As I have stated, President interrupts. International Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the questions are becoming too repetitive, and we've heard the witness say several times that there were annotations of Deutsch on documents regarding persons to be executed. Now, as regards the question, you didn't know anything as to the person who issued orders for executions. That question is problematic because the witness has answered that question on several occasions, and it is not normal that the defense counsel should interpret the statements of the witness as meaning that there were no relations between him and Deutsch regarding executions. He didn't meet Deutsch, but he knew that it was Deutsch who did the annotations on the documents.
Yesterday, Mr. President, I read about 5 or 6 excerpts from Duik's testimony, all saying the same thing, that it was Hoare who decided upon the execution, and that he only annotated if a prisoner was done with being interrogated. But it's fine, I'll move on. I know what you think already anyway, Mr. President. Let me move to my final point. Mr. Witness, yesterday we spoke briefly about the last day at S21, the 7th of January. Yesterday you said that no document belonging to S21 was destroyed in the days before 7 January or on the 7th of January 1979. In 2009, you also gave testimony about this, E3/7466. At 11:04, you said, quote unquote, there was no plan to destroy any document, end of quote. Let me first start by saying, is it correct that there also was no plan to destroy any document?
I would like to clarify that before 7 January 1979, my superior Ho did not give me any instruction or any plan to destroy the documents, and I myself was not aware of the latest situation at the time, and the documents were still kept at the office.
នេះខ្ញុំចង់បញ្ជាក់បន្ថែមទៀតថា
And I would like to add that I did not know about the documents that were kept at by the interrogation unit. As for us, the guard unit, I did not receive any instructions from Hall for the destruction of those documents.
Now let me confront you with the following. The historian David Chandler wrote a book about S21, and he says in his book that about roughly 4,300 confessions have come to light so far. You can find that in his book, E3/1684, Khmer 00191835, English 00192685, French 003572688. There are other publications, but I'll just name one, E3/1684. The English ERN is 00192676, no Khmer, no French. That document says that about 6,000 negatives or photos were found. Something that you don't know, the investigators of the International Co-Investigating Judge in cases 3 and 4 researched all S21 documents, and in this OCIJ list, E393.2, it says that of about 5,512 individuals, there seemed to be an execution date available. It's difficult for you to give numbers, I understand, it's a long time ago, Mr. Witness, but is it about correct that at S21, at the Tulsleng premises, about 5,000, 6,000 people were detained, interrogated, and presumably afterwards executed?
Mr. President, here is another assertion without any base. Simply looking at the OCIJ list, indeed, there might only be 5,500 people whose names can be found and who allegedly were executed, or at least who have an execution date. We are analyzing this list because the OCP left aside many sources indicating the execution date of these prisoners, and that is not in the final OCIJ list, correction of the interpreter. When we will be ready, we, of course, will make a request to that effect in order to demonstrate that regarding the number of executions, the number is much higher than that. Second, it's not because there are only 4,300 confessions that were found that this means that there were only 4,300 people who were detained at S21. So the conclusion drawn that there were only 5,000 or 6,000 people at S21 is not based on facts or based on data that is reliable. So I don't think that you can make this kind of assertion.
Can we cut through the pleadings and ask an open question? Witness, do you know how many people died in S21 during its existence? If you don't know, tell me. If you know, tell me too.
I do not know the exact number.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm done.
President, the floor is now given to the defense team for Mr. Kyu Sampon to put questions to witness Suchi. You may proceed.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to all of you. Good morning, witness. My name is Anta Gise, and I am the Co-International Counsel for Mr. Kyu Sampon. And it is in this capacity that I'm going to put a few questions to you that won't be very long. My first question, a question of clarification, first of all. Following the questions that were put to you by Judge Lavergne. You spoke about your family and the people who died. And when you were answering one of the questions put to you by Judge Lavergne regarding your siblings who are still alive, you said that you had that there were three of you, you and two sisters who are still alive. But I didn't understand that. I didn't understand if the five others who were among your siblings died during the DK regime. Could you please specify that?
Let me clarify the point once again. My siblings who died, three of my siblings died in the DK. My blood siblings, three of them died in the DK, and one is the relative. The in-law also died. One in-law also died. After 1979, my two other siblings died after the regime, so only three of us remained living.
Thank you for this specific clarification. Now, I would like to focus on the period when you were at S21, but when the S21 premises were still at the PJ. When you answered a question put to you by the International Co-Prosecutor at the hearing of 2 June at 9:33, you specified when he was confronting you with your biography that the date of November 1975 is accurate, yes, regarding the start of your job at S21 at the PJ. I know you don't remember the exact date, but however, can you confirm that in December 1975 you were already working at S21 at the PJ?
Based on the biography, it was in November, and I am not certain of the exact date rather.
Thank you for this clarification. My question now is, when you started working at the PJ, did you start working right away on the lists? Was drawing up lists your work as soon as you started at the PJ?
Upon my arrival at PJ prison, Ho assigned to me to be in charge of the list.
Do you know if you were the only person back then to work on the lists? Or was there another department or other people who were also involved with lists at the PJ?
As I told the court already, Maine was also responsible for drawing up the lists. And when I arrived at the PJ, I cannot recall it well, but at the time, he gave me the lists of prisoners for me to redo them.
Do you know who was in charge of the lists before you arrived?
Before my arrival, or immediately after my arrival, no one had been there at the initial stage to be in charge of the lists. When I was there, as I said, Ho gave me the lists and he asked me to redo them.
I would like to know if you remember if prisoners were released during the short period when you were working at the PJ.
I was there for a short period of time and no prisoners had been released out of that prison.
I'm putting this question to you, witness, because when you were examined by the prosecutor at, this is record E3/7603, French RN 00392492, Khmer 00145 English 00146 and questions were put to you regarding your work at the PJ, and this is what you said. Back then, most prisoners were workers and had not been tortured. Some of them had even been released. End of quote, free translation. So here in this interview in October 2006, you're speaking about people who were released. Does this refresh your memory?
My memory does not serve me well since many things had happened in the past, long time ago. To my recollection, I was working with Maine, and I cannot tell you for sure about whether or not prisoners had been released.
So you don't remember this very clearly, and of course we can understand this was a long time ago, but in any case, do you remember having said that in October 2006 to the prosecutor?
I am not certain, as I said. I cannot recall what I have stated.
When you were questioned on this issue at the hearing of 2 June 2016, and it was a little bit before 9:43, you, and I will quote from the French draft, and you said that the prisoners were not released but taken out of the prison. I did not know, and I had no information about their exiting of the prison, because this did not fall under my scope of responsibility. End of quote. When you said that this was not under my remit, do you know who was in charge of deciding on who would be released and who wouldn't? Who was in charge of that, because it wasn't you?
It was who was in charge of all prisoners.
Another point I would like to discuss with you, and with the leave of the President, I would like to provide you a document in order to see if this resembles a list that you might have seen at the PJ. This is document E3/965. And with the leave of the President, may we please display this first page of the document on the screen. Khmer ERN 000688840. French 003246330. English 00316312. And this is a document entitled Summary Biography of the Released Prisoners within Company 44, dated 20 December 1975. And on the heading on this first page, we also see that they are speaking of Brigade 703 in Battalion 96. So can we provide the Khmer copy of this document to the witness, and then I will put questions to him on this document.
President, the request is granted, and AV unit, please show the document on the screens.
So I will give you the time to go over the document, witness. But my first question is, did you ever see this list of summary biographies of released prisoners? That's my first question. And then, second question is, do you know Battalion 96 of Brigade 703? We say brigade here. I'm not sure that the French translation is accurate, because we always spoke about division. But can you confirm that on this first page in Khmer of this document, they are referring to Division 703, in fact?
I know Brigade 703. As for Battalion 96, I do not know about its existence, and I do not know it at all.
And to be sure about this, did you ever hear about Hien, H-E-N, and whose name is on the first page of this document?
I have never heard of the name, and the things had happened a long time ago.
Alors,
since I understand that you do not know this document and that you do not know this battalion, so I'm not going to ask you questions about this battalion in depth, but simply going to ask you questions of form. So I'd like you to look at the second page of this document. Let me start with the Khmer ERN. In Khmer 000688841. French 003246331. English 00316313. on this document, the brief biography of released prisoners, there is a table with the name, the age, the position, the entry date into the revolution, etc., of these people on the same line. So when you were at the PJ, did you draw up similar lists? Or does this not resemble at all the lists that you would draw up back then?
This list was not compiled by me. Based on the biography, I went to work at that location in November, and this was not my list that I drew up.
I understood, of course, that you are not the person who drew up this list. That was very clear. But my question was a bit different. I wanted to know if the format of this list, such as you can see it right here before you, does this format correspond to the format of lists that you would draw up when you were working at the PJ?
Regarding the format, yes, the list includes names, position, and also the dates. But the parents' names were not included in the list that I drew up.
And at the PJ, did you list the reason why these people were detained, as you can see in the last column of this table?
At PJ, I was not allowed by Hall to inquire into the reason of the arrests.
I'm done with this document. Witness, let me put to you a follow-up question in relation to the questions that were put to you by my colleague Koppe, and regarding the format or the template of the list that you would draw up. At the PJ, did you also use a register to compile the lists that you would draw up?
At PJ, I did not have the position of books and typewriters. Usually I hand wrote the names of prisoners, and after that I would report the lists to Hall, the master list or the combined list of prisoners.
So, if I understood you well, these lists were drawn up on loose sheets of paper. Is that correct?
I wrote on a piece of paper the names of prisoners, and as things had happened a long time ago, I cannot recall it well, and I handwrote the names of the incoming prisoners on the lists. No typewriters were used at the time.
Now I would like to focus on the period when you were at Tul Sling. That is to say, when you were changed. And First, regarding your duties and regarding how you would organize yourself, materially speaking. So can we say that at S21, contrary to the PJ, you had registers, such as you said yesterday, following the video excerpt that was screened. So can you confirm that things were a little bit different at S21, and that at S21 you would work with registers?
When I was transferred to S21, I did not have any books to note down the names, and at a later stage I was given with the books from Hall.
Do you remember as of when you began working with registers?
I cannot recall the exact time period.
Vous avez indiqué répondant.
You told us when you answered a question that was put to you by the co-prosecutor or Judge Laverne, I don't remember in any case, but you said that beyond the entry and exit list of the prisoners, you were also in charge of drawing up short biographies of the staff in your unit. So did I understand your testimony properly?
That is correct, because S21 staff were under the supervision of Hall, and he was the one who gave me the figure of those staff under each units or groups.
So I must conclude from your answer that he is the one who asked you to draw up these lists. Did he tell you what the purpose was of drawing up these lists, as well as these short biographies of the staff?
Because staff were under the supervision of Hall, and Hall relied on list makers like myself, so that the report on the strength of force was accurate. He accurately testified about the members within the guard unit.
Now I would like to you to provide me some clarification regarding the description of S21 tool sling that you provided us with. You said that there was a first wall or first perimeter within you, which you worked in an outside area as well, and you said that there was a zinc fence to separate both areas. Do you remember if this zinc fence existed the first time you arrived at Tool Sling?
I cannot recall that for sure. However, to my knowledge, the zinc fence was erected when the prison was moved from PJ to Tool Sling.
Vous avez évoqué à plusieurs reprises.
On several occasions, you referred to the special force that was assigned to receive persons transferred to S21. You even indicated that your office was located at the main entrance of the lycée, that is on the side of the internal perimeter, if I'm not mistaken. Do you confirm what you said earlier, that as part of your duties, you are not authorized to go out of the premises, and that all your work was done within the premises of the lycée?
Yes, that is true.
Vous avez parlé de votre bureau en disant que vous...
You talked about your office, saying that you shared it with Hall, and that at times there was a young man whose name was Lam who assisted you. My question to you is as follows. Regarding Lam, Hall, and the persons who brought the prisoners whose short biographies you took, were there any other persons authorized to enter that office?
At my workplace, there were Land, Ho, myself, and photographers. We were the permanent staff there who worked and dealt with incoming prisoners.
Quand vous dites...
When you state that there was also a photographer or photographers, were they in the same office as yourself? When they took photographs, did you see them taking those photographs?
Photographers only worked in the morning, and they did not stay there during night times, as they returned to stay at their houses. Only Land and I were on standby at that office. As for Ho, he had his house outside, although he worked in the same office.
Donc, pour avoir une réponse précise à...
So, to have a clear answer to my previous question, do you therefore confirm that the photographers were in the same office as yourself when they took the photographs?
Photographers had a room for photographing prisoners, and it was next to my office.
D'accord, mais nous sommes d'accord que...
Very well. But we agree that it was in a separate room that they took those photographs.
I did not stay in a room to register prisoners. In fact, I sat in the photographer's room, and there was a chair for me. I sat there and I took down the names of prisoners.
Et qui amenait les prisonniers?
Who brought the prisoners to the photographer's room?
They were guards from the outer perimeter who took the prisoner into the building.
Au moment où vous posiez les courtes questions,
when you put short questions to the prisoners, were the guards present or not?
As for the guards were standing watch at the building. However, for the guard who escorted the prisoner into the room where I worked, they remained standing there to watch over the prisoners.
Et j'en reviens à ma question de départ.
Let me return to my initial question regarding the office in which you did your administrative work. Apart from Hall, Land, and yourself, were other persons authorized to get into that room?
Anyone who had the duty to work inside that office could enter that office. That is where I drew up the list.
Oui, en fait, c'est ce que j'essaye de savoir, c'est qui.
Yes, but what I'm trying to find out from you is who was authorized to enter that office.
As I have said, anyone who had a business deal with the office that I worked would be authorized to enter the office, including personnel from the interrogation unit. Usually they could go to my office to ask for the room number or the cell number of prisoners. And usually members of a guard unit who were escorting prisoners could enter the office.
Et vous, à l'inverse, est-ce que...
And inversely, were you authorized to enter the offices in which the interrogators were working?
For the interrogator's office, I did not have authority to enter.
Monsieur le Président, je vois qu'il est 10h10, peut-être.
Mr. President, I see the time is 10 past 10. Perhaps it's the right time for us to take the break.
Thank you, Counsel. It is now appropriate for a short break. We'll take a break now and resume at 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and civil parties during the break time, and invite him as well as his duty counsel back into the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.